I always wanted to say this. Love you long time. Anyway, before I get into it, I am asking you to this evening to go home and say a little prayer for my my big brother Terry J. Lovell. He's not feeling well. We worked together for the last 4 years or so, and so he's not feeling well. He's at home resting right now. So wish you could be here. So please say a little prayer for him. About 38 years or so ago, the spring of 1975, my father had already retired from the ARVN, the South Vietnamese Army. Or he was there in service for about 20 years, and he had a well, what happened to my teleprompters? I don't have one. Anyway, so he had a family meeting, and he said, we need to talk about food, water, and a possibility of losing a nation. And I remember I was about 12 years old, and I said, that's ridiculous. What are we talking about? Food, water, and the loss of a nation for? It's not possible to lose our country to a bunch of socialists and communists. It's just not possible, right? So let me forward to 2012. My kids are about my age back then. Guess what we talk about? Food, water, and a possibility of losing a nation. So some of you might be out there thinking, Quan, aren't you a little bit extreme? Yeah, I'm kind of extreme, actually. I'm very proud to be extreme. If I love my red, white, and blue, my Constitution, my God, my family, my friends, my Second Amendment, and if you call that extreme, yes, I am a right-wing extremer. Okay? And that's who I am. So I'll tell you a little story that actually just happened yesterday. And kind of funny, I went to my doctor to get a physical, and I was signing in, getting my insurance card out, and I heard in the back right behind me, kind of a screechy voice. I'm not going to try not to do it, but actually you kind of have to hear to kind of understand it. It went something like this. Well, what about the Afghanistan war? What about the Iraq war? And it caught my attention, so I turned around, so I saw this Vietnam veteran. He was trying so hard to be civilized. And so it caught my attention, so I got my paper, and I'm all anxious about sitting down and getting into it, So I go to sit down, and she said the last word, and it was pretty amazing. She said, you know what? I'm also a Vietnam War protester. And I'm like, really? I've seen thousands of Vietnam veterans, and in my 37, 38 years living here, I never run into a Vietnam War protester. And I'm not even making this up. So I go to sit down, and fortunately for her, she was called to go see her doctor. And then I got called in to see my doctor. And the nurse put a little blood pressure thing on my arm. It was 149/94. Right? So I'm like, really? I'm going to drop dead here in a second. And I didn't quite understand why my blood pressure was so high, but then I realized, boy, after 37 years of finding out what freedom, liberty mean, my blood pressure goes sky high of the sight and sound of a war protester. So it was just amazing. Didn't say much, About 15 minutes later, I had my blood pressure drawn again, and it was normal again. Thank God. So, in the last, year and a half or so, I spent a lot of time visiting Vietnam veterans. It's one of my goals. One of my goals is to spend as many days of my life as possible to visit Vietnam veterans. And just to say, thank you. That's all I want to say. So why would a guy like me, with a nice family, a nice job, a nice business that I didn't build, would want to go out and spend a bunch of time with a bunch of old men and women who fought in a war that was so unpopular in America? Why would I want to do that? You know, I do that. I got one simple answer for you. Freedom. Liberty. The ability to stand up on a stage and speak to a bunch of people I never met before and not be afraid of an AK-47. Somebody has to do it. Somebody has to go out and say thank you. And I got to tell you, I'm extremely, extremely blessed because most people get to say hi to veterans down the grocery store aisle or, you know, at the mall. I get to do this every day. Every day is Veterans Day for me. Every day I get to work with a veteran or on the phone with a veteran or on a pile of emails with veterans. And I'm just so blessed and so thankful. So, you know, let me do this. November 6th is coming around real soon. And by the way, Lori Klein, thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of your campaign. She's one of the most conservative people that I know in the state of Arizona. And because of Lori Klein, I get to stand up here. So thank you so much. So let me get back to this real quickly. So what do we do about freedom? How do we reclaim this? You got to remember this. 37 years ago, I took a boat to land myself in the greatest nation on earth. I didn't even know what the word freedom meant until I got here. So what do we do about it? Unfortunately, I turn around and I see the same boat I took is turning right back to where I was coming from. Okay? And so again, what do we do about it? I can tell you right now. August 28th, we got to start working with people like Lori Klein. November 6th, if we decide, we make the decision to sit on our butts, watching TV, complain, then you know what you're going to find out? You're going to find out exactly what I already knew. And it's not pretty. So again, you know, we go back talking about food, water, brass. And I can tell you right now, you can call me an extremist if you want to. I love this country so much that if it comes down to that point, you will find my body right next to a pile of brass. And that's the honest truth. So again, thank you so much for having me. And I hope you, you know, realize how lucky we are. Thank you so much. Love you long time.